Okay, let's think about this. What if you could just shed your entire past, your identity, everything, and invent someone completely new, totally free from who you used to be? What parts of your old self would you keep? What would you desperately leave behind? And really, what would that cost? Today, we're diving into Brit Bennett's incredible book, The Vanishing Half. It's such a powerful story. It really digs into identity, family secrets, the choices that just shape our lives.
Right.
We're going to follow the complex story of twin sisters, see how their paths diverge so dramatically, and look at the deep impact their decisions have.
Absolutely. And as we go through this story, you'll start to see these patterns, these insights into the human drive for self-invention and also into the complex, sometimes really slippery nature of truth. The book shows how personal history, what society expects, that deep need to belong, how all that can push people to create entirely new realities. And sometimes, the consequences are just profound, completely unexpected.
Yeah, it's really thought-provoking. And this kind of exploration, it's inspired by the analysis we do over on Mindful Moments. That's our YouTube channel. We use AI book analysis there to spark reflection, rational thought. It's really about looking closely at stories that make you stop and think. Mm-hmm. So our journey into The Vanishing Half starts in this very unique town, Mallard, Louisiana. It's not just any place. It was founded with this, peculiar ambition to create a line of black people who got lighter and lighter skin with each generation. The book makes this striking point. Nobody married dark in Mallard. It's this whole community built around an obsession with lightness, almost a desire to vanish into whiteness right there.
And that's the world Stella and Desiree Vigna are born into. Identical twins, their early lives completely tied together in this very specific place. But their childhood is shattered by something horrific, truly traumatic. They witness the brutal lynching of their father, Leon Vigna, by 5 white men. And the detail is just chilling. They saw it happen, hiding, hands clamped over each other's mouths. And even worse, the book mentions he was lynched twice. He actually survived the first time, but they found him and murdered him in the hospital. Shot him.
That's just unimaginable trauma for anyone, let alone young girls. It makes you wonder, right?
Yeah.
What does seeing something like that do to you? How does it fuel that need to escape?
Exactly. That intense experience of violence, of racial terror, it lays the stark foundation for why they might later feel this impulse to just disappear, to vanish from a world that attacked them so brutally. It's a key insight from the book, I think. Sometimes escaping isn't just about finding opportunity, it's about sheer survival, making yourself invisible to pain.
And vanish is exactly what they did. They were 16, right after the Founders Day dance. Poof, gone from Mallard. The town, wondered stupidly if they had been taken. Or maybe it was sudden as the rapture. Mm-hmm. But the reality, as Bennett writes it, was, much more ordinary, but just as life-changing. They were simply selfish girls running from responsibility.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't be back for a very long time.
And right away, their paths split. They show up in New Orleans first, Stella and Desiree trying to start over. Then Desiree makes her way to Washington, D.C. She gets a job at the Bureau, and what's really interesting is her skill there. She becomes amazing at fingerprint analysis, identifying people out of a million by studying a ridge. The width, shape, pores, all of it. It's quite an irony, isn't it? Her first real adult skill is all about revealing identity, picking people out, while her sister is starting to erase hers.
That is a sharp point. So Desiree's finding her way, building this new identity through her work. But then comes marriage. She marries Sam Winston, described as a jet black brother, a prosecutor. What happens there? What kind of darkness creeps in?
Well, it reveals a really devastating truth. You can run from one kind of past, but sometimes you run right into a different kind of danger. Their marriage hides this awful reality of domestic abuse. The book gives these stark examples, like the first slap over a forgotten button, his hand smashing hot against her mouth, and later grabbing her throat when she hesitates about having another kid. It's just this brutal turn for Desiree. It shatters any idea she might have had of a clean break or finding safety. It really drives home that escaping one thing doesn't mean you're free from all pain.
Faced with that kind of horror, what's her move? Does she keep running or does she deal with this new nightmare?
She makes this incredibly tough choice. She goes home, back to Mallard, the place she ran from. The book mentions she felt like Washington, D.C. had started to feel like a type of home, a place she could maybe imagine staying, even without Stella. But going back isn't easy either, especially because she arrives with her daughter, Jude. And Jude is blue-black, which is just this stark, undeniable contrast to Mallard's whole obsession with light skin. The local feeling is pretty clear. Marrying a dark man and dragging his blue-black child all over town was one step too far. It really shows how even when you choose to return, the past and its biases are often still sitting right there, waiting for you.
So she settles back in, working at Lou's Egg House. A huge change from the Bureau, right, for the founder's great-great-great-granddaughter.
Yeah.
And then Early Jones enters the picture. The bondsman Sam hired to find her initially. What kind of relationship forms there?
It's quiet, and complex, but it becomes this really important anchor for Desiree. Early is drawn to her, even after seeing signs of her past, like a bruise. Her mother, Adele, though, she's suspicious, worries a dark boy might bring trouble, or maybe it's just the town's prejudice rubbing off. But despite that, Desiree and Early slowly build this connection. He becomes this steady, comforting presence, even sleeps on Stella's side of their old bed. And that feels like a kind of positive theory the book offers. Finding belonging isn't always about fitting in with what society expects. Sometimes it's about that authentic connection with someone who just sees you, warts and all.
Right. Meanwhile, Stella, her path is maybe even more radical, more transformative, perhaps more dangerous in a way. She makes this huge choice to become white, to pass. How does she navigate that incredible shift?
Well, she's nervous at first, understandably, but then she starts to realize something. She realizes that there was nothing to being white except boldness. You could convince anyone you belonged somewhere if you acted like you did. And that bold act becomes her ultimate vanishing act, a complete shedding of her Black identity, her past. It's a really stunning example of how identity can be performed, constructed, just through sheer will.
And she commits completely, builds this entirely new life. She's a secretary, marries Blake Sanders, a white man. They have a daughter, Kennedy. Her whole world is built on this deception, like a curtain hung between her past and present. She never, ever pulls back. She's Miss Vignes professionally, Stella privately, always managing these two constructed selves. But what's the real cost of living like that, day in, day out, even with the outward success?
The cost, as the book shows so well, is it creates a different kind of prison. Her carefully built world is always fragile, always under threat. You see these cracks appear, especially when the Walkers, a Black family, move into her wealthy white neighborhood. That triggers huge anxiety in Stella. It reveals her deep fears, her hypocrisy even. She's picturing a colored family moving in or imagining what might be done to stop them. And her husband, Blake, he completely misreads it, thinks she's just lonely, needs a hobby. He has no clue about the real turmoil inside her. It's such a powerful insight. The energy it takes to keep up a lie can be way more exhausting, more isolating than the truth ever could be, no matter how painful that truth is.
That's a really potent point. The lie becomes the burden, heavier than the past she tried to escape. But interestingly, Stella doesn't just, sit back in her new life. She pursues education, gets her GED, takes math classes. What does that tell us about what's going on inside her? And how does her professor, Peg, kind of push her?
I think it suggests this deep, maybe even unconscious, yearning for something real, something beyond the performance. It's not just a hobby. It feels like a search for something solid, intellectual fulfillment, maybe understanding herself outside that social role she's playing. And her professor, Peg, is key here. Peg sees something more and pushes back, saying, like hell, it's not every day a housewife suddenly decides she wants to take up math. It's like Peg is encouraging her to confront those hidden parts, to seek a different kind of truth. It's another kind of positive theory, maybe, that even inside a lie, the human spirit can still push for growth, for something authentic.
Let's shift to the next generation then. We meet Jude, Desiree's daughter. She grows up feeling incredibly alone in Mallard, doesn't she? That sense of being other.
Oh, absolutely. The book puts it so plainly. People thought that being one of a kind made you special. No, it just made you lonely. What was special was belonging with someone else. And she finds that belonging, or starts to, when she moves to LA for college and meets Reese Carter. That connection is huge for her.
And Reese's story itself is another really strong example of this positive idea of self-creation, right? His journey. From Therese Ann Carter to Reese. Shedding his past name, his assigned gender, it's this profound act of self-determination. The book even asks, how real was a person if he could shed her in 1,000 miles? Reese answers that by living his truth. What does his journey and his relationship with Jude teach us?
Well, Reese's story really emphasizes that self-invention doesn't have to mean hiding. It can mean embracing who you truly are, even if it goes against norms. He and Jude build this really supportive bond. They talk about a future, even with the practical hurdles like his birth certificate. Their connection is powerful evidence that belonging can come from mutual acceptance, from the courage to just be yourself. It's almost the opposite of Stella's vanishing, it's becoming and not hiding.
Then you have Kennedy, Stella's daughter. She wants to be an actress, but she's struggling, right? Called Charity. On set, her big storyline is basically being disposable. And her world gets completely rocked when she bumps into Jude at a theater event. How does that chance meeting unravel everything?
That meeting is the catalyst. It leads Kennedy straight to the shocking truth about her mother's identity, her hidden past. It just shatters Kennedy's understanding of her own life, her own history. It's that moment where the carefully built facade just starts to crumble, forcing this confrontation with secrets.
And that confrontation is intense. Kennedy finds that old photo of the twins, confronts Stella. Stella denies it, of course, tries to manage the situation, even tries to, bribe Kennedy with an apartment to just drop it.
But Kennedy keeps digging. She needs the truth. As Bennett puts it, Kennedy didn't know what to do with the rest. All the stories she knew were fiction, so she began to create new ones. She starts inventing her own life, too, in a way, driven by this need for truth. Yeah, and if you zoom out, the whole story just paints this vivid picture of how heavy secrets are. The burden of living a lie. You see it in Stella's constant fear. You see it in Adele trying to shield Desiree. And you see it in Kennedy wrestling with her mother's deception. It shows how lies don't just affect the person telling them, they ripple outwards, tangling up everyone around them, even across generations. That's a stark insight. Secrets bind everyone they touch.
That's so true. So what does the vanishing half ultimately suggest about identity itself? Is it fixed? Is it something we build? Can you really escape your past? Or does it always find you, even 1,000 miles later, like the book asks? It's not just about the characters. It's a question for all of us.
It really pushes back against the idea of a fixed identity. I mean, the characters try to vanish, but the book shows how deeply linked they are to where they came from, what happened to them. But it also offers these powerful, positive theories, these glimmers of hope. Despite all the secrets and lies, they do seek connection. Jude finds it with Reese, a chosen family. Desiree finds this unexpected stability with Early, and even in that painful showdown between Kennedy and Stella, there's this desperate undercurrent of needing truth, needing authenticity. These connections, even the difficult ones, they show our resilience, our fundamental need for realness. Our past shapes us, yes, but maybe it also shapes how we connect and who we connect with.
The Vanishing Half is just...
Yeah.
It's such an emotionally rich book, and it makes you think so much. It masterfully weaves together past trauma, individual choices, societal pressures, all the things that make us who we are or who we pretend to be. Definitely stays with you.
Absolutely. And it leaves you with that powerful question. When the truth of who you are is really on the line, what would you risk? To protect it? Or maybe to finally reveal it?
Yeah. This look into the vanishing half is just one example of the kind of insights waiting in great stories like this. We really encourage you to subscribe to our platform for more tailored knowledge journeys like this one. And if you found this interesting, please share it with someone else who loves a truly compelling story. You'll find links to grab a copy of this incredible book in the show notes, along with links to our other podcasts. And, of course, check out the Mindful Moments YouTube channel for more AI book analysis that inspires reflection. Until next time, keep thinking critically about the stories you engage with and the identities you navigate every day.